Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this edition of Hey Rob. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit sports. More specifically, we're going to talk a little bit boxing. That's why I got my Joe Frazier glove right here. Signed by the man, Joe Frazier. He did defeat Muhammad Ali. And, yeah, he's not that guy right there. That's Sonny Liston. But with me today is a friend of mine. He's part of the Future Legend family. So we're going to talk about some of the big fights coming up, namely Mayweather versus McGregor. And so for those of you that don't know who Paulie Malignaggi is, he is a two-time multi-division world champion, and he's an expert commentator on Showtime and CBS and stuff. So this man knows boxing. So we're going to give him a call, and I'm going to ask him some questions because I'm perplexed on some of the events that's going on in boxing, and I want to know exactly what he thinks McGregor's chances are against one of the greatest of all time. Let's get him on. Yo, what's up, Paulie? How you doing?
What's up, brother? How's it going?
It's going good, dude. We're live right now, recording. We're talking a little bit of boxing. So I just introduced some of my fans who maybe don't follow the sport quite as much, letting them know all your credentials, your CBS and Showtime's current expert analysis and commentator, two-time world champion, different divisions, right?
Yeah, two-time world champion, super lightweight and welterweight.
So this man knows boxing. He's fought with some of the best of the era. So basically, the reason I wanted to talk to you is just straight up. I texted you the other day. I said, hey, man, I wanted to bet the fucking house on Floyd Mayweather. I just don't see Conor McGregor having a chance at all. But then a funny thing happened. We watched Manny Pacquiao go life and death with a guy named Jeff Horn that I never fucking heard of. Even if I gave Jeff Horn all the credit in the world and say just because I never heard of him doesn't mean he wasn't good, even then it's still like that guy was just his skill set seemed pretty unrefined, and Manny Pacquiao looked old as fuck from the opening bell, like he had lost a step. So what are the chances after 3 fucking years, a layoff, and then just like he's old? What are McGregor's chances for real?
That's the kind of the wild card in the whole thing is the layoff and the age factor. You don't usually see guys at this age that take a long layoff and have a successful comeback fight. We saw Sugar Ray Leonard do it with Hector Camacho. We saw Muhammad Ali do it with Trevor Berbick. These were guys that were all-time greats, but they had long layoffs at the end of their careers. They were slowing down, so they took a layoff. And then they came back to try to, go for the gusto one last time, and it didn't bode well for them. One thing about nature is it affects all of us. We all get old. McGregor, though, is a different proposition in that, he's never boxed before. So obviously you make Floyd a pretty heavy favorite because of the fact that he's got all these credentials, and he remained undefeated throughout his career, while Conor's coming into boxing for the first time in his life, so to speak, at this level anyway, at professional boxing level. That's the wild card. I still don't think you can't favor Floyd. I still think you have to favor Floyd, but that's the wild card in all of it. Both guys are winners. Both guys have a confident mentality because they both feel great at what they do in their own sport. So I don't think Conor's showing up to lose. But of course, I do make Conor the underdog, regardless of the fact that there is certain wild card factors going on with the Mayweather situation.
Yeah, I mean, because like you mentioned, I remember even Sugar Ray Leonard took a long layoff before he was really even out of his prime because of his injuries and stuff. Came back and beat Marvin Hagler, went up in weight and did it. And it's just like, this is so different. It's just like, it's not even in the same fucking realm, dude. You got a dude that's 0-0-0. I got the same record as McGregor in boxing. That's insane. So it's like, but I mean, one thing we know about Floyd, obviously one of the best defensive, if not the best. He's definitely arguable, with Willie Pep or whatever, as the best defensive fighter to ever do it. But we know he doesn't hit very hard, and we know Conor McGregor has fought with the smaller gloves against bigger guys and taken those shots. So what would he have to do? Is it like a situation where he has to just like kind of be like Maidana was a little bit, or be like how Castillo was, and just like kind of just go for it and just you know, like just basically make it a dogfight in there, or because that's not really Conor's style in MMA either. He's a finesse fighter. He's timing. He's, you know, he catches you coming in. He's a bit of a counter puncher in MMA. So like, what can he actually do that'll give him a shot?
That's the thing. I don't think McGregor can just go for the gusto like I just feel like a Maidana and be all physical and rowdy and whatnot. I think he's got to stick with what got him there, and what got him there is the sharpshooting ability and the big punching power. While Mayweather's not the biggest puncher, he can beat you up, and in beating you up, he can get the stoppage. You know, he's done that to a lot of guys. You have to show Mayweather that you're able to defend yourself. So McGregor's gonna have to show that he's able to defend himself, while also showing a little bit of enough of a threat to where he poses enough of a problem for Floyd to kind of make Floyd back off and respect him a little bit. Because if Floyd's the kind of guy that, yeah, he'll run, he'll box, he'll move around, but if he sees he doesn't have to respect you, he will take it to you, and he's done that in his career.
He has, but I mean that was some of the lighter weight classes though too. Now that he's fighting bigger guys, and Conor is going to be bigger than him, I think. So it's like, would you still see him being able to take it to him?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if Conor can't show some kind of resistance that is the threat to Floyd Mayweather, I think, you know, I do see Floyd taking it to him. It's going to be up to Conor to show some kind of wrinkles and versatility in his style to make Floyd worry and think a little bit. I think Victor Ortiz was a big puncher, and he's a southpaw. Floyd was taking it to him in the last round when Victor started fouling, and then we saw the whole fiasco happen. Zab Judah's a big left-handed puncher. Floyd Mayweather was walking him down and taking it to him. DeMarcus Corley, maybe not the biggest puncher, but a very quality fighter. Mayweather took some shots even in the fact that he tried to take it to him so badly. So, you know, Floyd will take it to you if he sees and feels he shouldn't have to respect you. So it's going to be up to Conor to dictate that respect, and that'll be in how the fight evolves, really.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned one thing though, dude. You said, you know, when Victor Ortiz went dirty and it turned into a fiasco. I mean, sometimes I could be a bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to boxing because it is a weird sport. What are the chances of this whole thing, which is just pretty much, it's a fucking circus act, you know? There's debate as to whether it's good or bad for boxing. It's certainly good for Conor McGregor. He really can't lose because he's like, if he loses, well, he's not a boxer and he lost to Floyd Mayweather. He goes back to MMA and keeps being the face of UFC. But if he wins, holy shit. But what are the chances, you think, that this is just a complete circus act and Conor does start doing some dirty shit in there, throws a fucking elbow or a kick or something, you know? Is that?
I think there's heavy penalties and fines involved for Conor doing any of that stuff. So I think it makes it all the more reason why he's not going to do it. There's, you know, you're gonna get paid, you're gonna get fined substantial percentages of your purse. At the end of the day, this is prize fighting, so you don't want to lose that kind of money. So I don't see Conor going that route. Can the fight get a little dirty? Yeah, but then again, all boxing matches get a little bit dirty, you know, so especially at that level. But as far as throwing intentional, like, knees or elbows or something like that, no, I don't see that happen, or even spin punches or whatnot. I don't see that happening, you know. Maybe Conor will try a Superman punch. I don't think that's illegal, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, even though you don't see it in boxing.
I saw one once, Juan Manuel Lopez. I forgot the guy he knocked out. I think he was from the Philippines. Knocked him out like a third round. He did a fucking super punch. He just fucking leapt from like halfway in the ring and got him, knocked him out in the corner. It was kind of crazy looking, but I don't think that's the same thing.
Yeah. So I think maybe Conor will see that. Maybe Conor will try that kind of stuff. I don't see him getting too dirty because I don't see him wanting to get fined that kind of money.
But I mean, like, I know it's just ridiculous to think, but I was just kind of joking with some friends and saying, man, what if he fucking kicks Mayweather and just knocks him out? And it's like now he's the dude that knocked Mayweather out, fines and fucking just like, you know, he loses the match, but damn, the brand of McGregor goes up insane. Now that seems completely far fetched. I do think it's going to be a legitimate fight.
It would be pretty wild. It would be pretty wild. I'll tell you that, but. It's like it's just, I don't know if it's worth the kind of fine he would get. I mean, you're talking, you'd be fined 8-figure money.
I mean, it was worth it to Mike Tyson to bite a man's ear off, and
I don't know if he was calculating it that way though. I think he'd had enough, you know. he was over it, you know.
I mean, he profited off of that. Margarito profited off of loaded gloves. I mean, fuck. I've seen crazy things happen in this sport. You know what I mean? But that aside, all jokes aside, I mean, It's. Do you think Floyd at this point, because it's outside of a couple of nominals, obviously B Hop and George Foreman. He's in his 40s now. Do you think like it's so unknown? Like, how good is this for boxing? Just the unknown aura versus like, is it bad to see Mayweather who just gets beat based on? Does it hurt his whole legacy if he really is old? We can't say overnight, but if he's just like shows up and it's just not there, like, is that bad for boxing, or is it just bad for Mayweather, or is it just kind of like we write it off like, well, he was old and it is what it is?
I think nature gets us all. I think it's a part of the process, and we're all human beings. I don't think you can really take away from anybody's legacy when that kind of nature starts to happen. We're all human beings, and nobody's a Superman. So, the possibility that Floyd just gets old overnight is there. I don't think it takes away from his legacy. Although, the problem is every Floyd Mayweather fight is a big fight, but you can't take away from the guy's legacy, I think, if he gets old. But having said that, I do think this is a calculated risk.
Yeah, it seems like on Floyd's and like I think most people would view it as an easy fight for him, but it's like he has so much more on the line to me than honestly, like pretty much any fighter that since I've been watching over the last 15, 20 years, like the risk to denting that legacy is pretty substantial. I think, smart boxing heads will know that, he continually fought some of the best fighters that were available to him, the Pacquiao fiasco aside, but he eventually did fight him. It's just like he's still like it for in the public's eye though. Do you think that will taint it for them? In the mass public, the casual fan.
Yeah, I think there's always the aura of seeing him get beat or seeing him lose. I think that's always going to be the case with a guy who's never lost and he's been defeated, and it's part of the reason why so many people watch. There's the aura about that. But again, it could happen based on age and whatnot. But at this point, I don't think Floyd was as calculated with his risks as a lot of people tend to say. I do think this at this point in his career is a calculated risk, absolutely. Especially for the most money.
Okay, and in most boxing, you try to find the right fight where you got a real shot of winning, but you're gonna be willing to take risks for the money or the belt or whatever the case may be. But so with that said, dude, like, where do you see Floyd's legacy? Because he calls himself TBE. I could see putting him in any era. Duran, like, fuck, man, that's gnarly, and Sugar Ray Leonard. But do you think he stands up there with those guys? Like, if in the mythical matchup sense, like, does he stay in there with him, and are his credentials worthy of being up there with those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Floyd against any of those guys is a great fight. He's among the best ever, and he's a terrific fighter. Styles make fights. I think you'd be hard pressed to get a win over a welterweight Tommy Hearns. That's anybody's biggest nightmare. I think even Sugar Ray Leonard. At the end of the day, he lost more rounds than he won against Tommy Hearns in 2 fights with him, but he didn't lose even a fight. One fight he robbed him, and it was a draw. That was the second fight, and the first fight, Leonard had to come back from behind to get the stoppage. So, Hearns is a stylistic nightmare for any welterweight in the world. I think that would be the case with Floyd Mayweather at welterweight as well. Having said that, I think Floyd matches up well with any welterweights in history. Possibly beat them on a certain given night.
And dude, it's crazy because that's what I was thinking. I think Hearns would actually like be that dude just on the physical attributes alone. Like I actually wanted to see him.
I think if Hearns and Leonard weren't in the same era, I think you'd pick Hearns to beat Leonard too. I don't think on paper you pick anybody against Hearns at welterweight. Leonard had a couple of special intangible qualities to come back from behind and beat him. And then the second fight, Hearns should have got the decision, but he was robbed. So it's funny, in 2 fights with Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns won more rounds total, but didn't win either of the fights. But of course, styles make fights. Who's a nightmare for Tommy Hearns, in my opinion? Felix Trinidad. I think Felix Trinidad knocks out Tommy Hearns.
Whoa, whoa, dude! I could see it, but he was so chinny too, though.
But stylistically, it's a different kind of fight. They're weird fights. But I think Mayweather will have a lot of trouble with Tommy Hearns. But at the same time, I think Leonard and Mayweather and Duran and Mayweather are, fights that, you'll probably be split as far as who people think will win them,
Yeah. So, you know, I heard you say one thing, though. It was like, you're saying, like, okay, you think Tommy Hearns was robbed in the second fight. And the first fight that's probably my favorite fight of all time. Like, when I'm on tour, I literally will watch that every night before I go to bed. Like, it's just, like, the human heart and soul is just capable of so much. That's what I saw in Sugar Ray Leonard, dude. It was crazy. But the second fight, you say it was robbed and stuff. And you and I disagreed on Pacquiao versus Horn, which it was a close fight. It's just like, sometimes a close fight can have wide scorecards, and you know it's subjective. Yeah, maybe sometimes you think a punch landed that, you know, maybe he slipped. Maybe sometimes you think he slipped and he actually did get caught. But it's like, it was a tough fight to score. But I've talked with Joe Cortez randomly at times when I see him around fights, and actually one time at the hospital, his daughter or something was going into labor, and my wife and I just had our twins. But he was just randomly there, and we were talking about Kovalev versus Ward and how hard it was to score. He wants to implement Cortez 2020, where he has the judges sitting elevated so they get a better view. But I think it's the system itself, where each round is its own fight. So I think by the end of it, you could have a guy winning the fight but losing the boxing match. How do you think they could fix that? Because in my opinion, dude, I think they should change the value in the point system. So it's like, why is it 10-9? In round 8 or 9, I can't remember which one it was, where Pacquiao like beat the fuck out of Jeff Horn, almost stopped him. Why is that the same value as Floyd Mayweather winning a round by one punch and not doing really any damage?
I don't know. That's the thing. It's so subjective, and it's like, well, how do you change the scoring system again? You know, and how do you decide by how many points you give it to a guy? If now you can give it to a guy by more than 1 point, what's to say he should win it by 2 or 3 or 4 points? That's the thing. And then you're putting guys so far out of position to come back in the fight that they can never win on points again. You know, so there's subjectivity to that too. I get your point, and it's a valid point, but it's too much subjectivity to that as well.
Yeah, it's just because it's like, sometimes it's almost like, okay, a 10-8 round on a flash knockdown when a guy is almost out on his feet but somehow managed to get through, and that's a 10-9 round. It's like, almost like, dude, don't be afraid to take away some points. And do you think sometimes you can give 10-10 rounds, you know?
Yeah, I like to give 10-10 rounds. I don't think that's out of the question. You know, when a round is tough to call and it's close, I don't think you should punish one of the other fighters because you can't decide and you can't make up your mind. So you're just gonna make up your mind. These guys have their whole lives riding on these fights. The decision to who to give a round to shouldn't be decided on the fact that you just gotta play eeny, meeny, miny, mo with yourself because you couldn't decide. Like, I don't like that. And I think 10-10 rounds are totally fine.
Yeah, because like, dude, when a couple of those rounds, I'm like, who the hell do I give it to? You know, this is ridiculous. But then I look at, like, you know, the 117, 113 card or whatever it was. I know Jeff Horton, but that one judge gave it only 3 rounds to Pacquiao. I'm like, how is that possible? That's a robbery. But then I kind of go back and think about it. I'm like, how many rounds did Pacquiao actually dominate conclusively? And there was only a handful. It was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a tough fight to score because, you know, Pacquiao's taken a lot of large portions of the round and not fighting. Horn is, while he's also not landing punches, a lot of times he's also roughing Pacquiao up and putting him in bad positions to not be able to do anything. So during the positions where he's not be able to do anything, I mean, you don't just score a round on punches landed because punches aren't landing all 3 minutes. You're also scoring around on what's going on, who's controlling the tempo, and who's making one guy do what he doesn't want to do and whatnot, and so on and so forth. Because, you know, guys aren't going to punch for 3 minutes straight. So there's other things that are factored into judging a round. And what I liked about Horn was he was putting Pacquiao in positions where he couldn't fight back. He's putting Pacquiao in positions where he had to get really defensive. He's putting Pacquiao in positions where he was so uncomfortable that he wouldn't throw punches. And he did that for large spots of rounds. And all the while, Horn was working. Whether he was accurate or not is up to determination or up to subjectivity. But he was putting Pacquiao in uncomfortable positions, and Pacquiao in those moments was not able to do what he wanted to do to Horn, and that to me meant a lot.
Yeah, and see, I was actually one of the rare people who actually didn't think he won the first Bradley fight. I thought Pacquiao, and I scored it a draw initially because I was like, in the later rounds, like, yeah, he won the early portion of the fight, but in the later rounds, it's like he wasn't really landing anything, and Tim Bradley was the only one kind of trying to find a way to win and landing some shots here and there. But I think most people at that point thought the fight was decided and kind of really stopped paying attention. And you know, I'm in the complete minority, so maybe I am totally wrong on this, but you know, it wasn't that easy of a fight to score. You know, boxing is a tough sport, so that's why I think of, if there's anything that, you know, how things can be changed or moved around, because I know you've been on the bad side of a horrible decision. That first Diaz fight was, I was like, are you kidding me? I remember that too. I was in Colombia watching that fight, and I'm like, what the fuck, are you fucking serious? This is ridiculous. You know, it was a great fight, but it's still like, that was outright robbery to me. I didn't understand how that could happen. So I don't know. What do you think can be the thing? Is it a TV judge, some guy watching backstage on a fucking TV with no commentating? Well, like, what can they actually do so that idea of robbery doesn't happen? So at least it kind of minimizes it a little bit, you know, because it's still subjectivity. But can it be minimized so we can get more people on the same page?
You know, it's tough because what you might consider to win a round, I might not consider to win a round. What somebody else might consider to win a round, another person might not consider to win a round. It's tough. It's like the strike zone in baseball. It's just certain things, or like ice figure skating with the judges. You know, the subjectivity is varied. You know, there's a lot of things that people have in common that they like, and there's some things that people value more than others. You know.
Yeah, and especially because, like, if you're a judge, being ringside, like, you're on one angle, they go to the other side of the ring, and you're missing a lot of shit. And the one angle the audience has, for the most part,
which is why CompuStats are horrible, because, you know, it's just one person on one angle interpreting what he thinks is landing and what's not landing. I'd rather honestly trust my own eyes. I don't need somebody else to tell me what landed. I'd rather watch the round and say, you know what, I think this landed, I think this didn't land, or whatnot. I think that the round was controlled by physical aggression more so than anything in particular that landed, because nothing landed that was clean enough to land. Because a power shot may land, it may not land clean. Yet on CompuStats, it's considered a power shot that landed. It maybe the punch landed partially. Maybe the guy rolled with the shot, but it still landed. But on CompuStats, it's going to be registered as a landed power shot if the guy even saw it, because you don't even know what the guy saw. Sometimes the shot didn't land at all, and the guy registered as it landed. You know, you have a split second to make up your mind as to what landed and what didn't. There's no way you can ever be accurate. So many times you can't be anywhere near accurate. Like a fight with Horn and Pacquiao was so rough and rugged, you can't be accurate trying to count punches individually. You have to judge the rounds as a whole, not just as what's landing and what's not landing.
Yeah, and that's why I think, like, there were so many disagreements on that fight. Like, so I will throw away the complete, like, idea of that fight was a robbery. I'll just say it wasn't a robbery. It was a tough fight to score. I thought Pacquiao edged it, but I could understand, because it was tough, and maybe I saw things that, you know, in real time it's tough. But see, since you're there and now that you're commentating, you know, the main angle that the fan sees, yeah, there's the guy that gets on top of the ring apron, but like the main downward angle, is that, like, where are the judges positioned? Are they positioned is one of them on that same side? Because to my estimation, they're on the three sides that we don't get. Is that true, or is that weird? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that whole angles with the judges, I think that's a lot of BS too. I mean, dude, I stay ringside, and I'm on one angle of the ring too. You know, I mean, I get a pretty solid view. You know, one punch a lot of times is not going to change the round like that you can barely see. Because if a punch landed that cleanly, whether you were on the wrong side of it or not, you'll see it, because if a punch landed that cleanly. And if a punch is landing so partially that you being on the wrong side of the ring affected you because it didn't land clean enough, then that punch wasn't that important to change the round anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, where a punch lands so cleanly, it doesn't matter what's in your way. You know it landed because it was just a devastating shot or a big shot or whatnot. So the whole what angle the judges are watching at, it's all BS, bro. That's just excuses for judges. That's just excuses for judges calling a bad fight.
Yeah, and I mean it is true anyways, because I like, if I'm watching the same broadcast that my friend's watching and we have two different scores, then that's null and void. I guess you're right about that, dude. But I'm gonna do one last thing with you though, because there is another big fight after that you know maybe it's a little bit for the boxing like fan base is like the biggest one of the year, and that's Canelo versus Triple G. Like, at first thoughts, maybe like a year or two ago, you say, oh fuck man, Triple G's gonna knock him out. And then maybe Canelo's padded his record a little bit with a way undersized Con and, you know, inferior skill set with a chinny Kirkland. And, you know, it's just like we don't know what Canelo really is. We know he's improved, but we don't know to what extent. And Triple G, we do know that he has had some struggles here, but he's older again and he's winning. Like, how do you see that fight playing out?
I think to beat Triple G, you have to not get hit by Triple G. Daniel Jacobs showed a lot of versatility in his athleticism to avoid punches. And even when he did get hit, he went down. You know, you have to be able to not get hit from Triple G, and obviously you have to show some offensive threat there to where not only is he not able to hit you, but you're also putting him in danger, and he's got to kind of second guess himself at times. That's not easy to do. If you can't go without letting Triple G hit you, you will not survive a Triple G fight. I don't trust Canelo's defense. I think he's too flat-footed. I think the fight is between two explosive offenses, but I think Golovkin gets him.
Yeah, I see. I struggle with that too, but I know that Canelo is very flat-footed. He moves like with his shoulders and bobs and weaves and does all that hella gnarly. But thing about Triple G is he finds a way to move his punches and like turn them at different angles, so it's not just a straight.
And he's fundamentally so sound, you know, that he'll put you in position and balance and the follow up, cut the ring off on you. You're done. I mean, you have to have a real calmness to you. It's not just, it comes down to much more depth than just having a big offense and punching back at him. It's much deeper than that. And I don't know if Canelo has that kind of depth there.
And I do think he also plays to his opposition as well. So I think that's why with Cal Brook, saw him get hit, but I just don't think he was really that scared. And then
I disagree there. I think athleticism bothers Golovkin. Canelo doesn't have a lot of athleticism. He's got more athleticism than your typical flat-footed Mexican fighter, but he doesn't have the athleticism of an athletic fighter. Kell Brook and Danny Jacobs were athletic fighters. And athleticism means you can change the angle, bounce in and out of range, counterpunch at sharp shooting ranges, make a guy miss with different angles. Athleticism, you know. I think that kind of stuff bothers Golovkin a little bit, but that's not one of Canelo's qualities.
Yeah. See, but because the reason I say that, because when he fought a completely different fight, they're completely different fighters, but when he fought David Lemieux, that was like he was just working behind that jab, and it was pretty.
But he's not. You can't work behind the jab like that against guys like Brook or Jacobs, because they'll counter over the top of you. You know what I mean? Like they're athletic. They'll come over the top of the jab they'll roll and counter. They'll make you pay for a basic jab like that. You know what I'm saying? So not that Golovkin's jab is totally basic, but it's a pretty one-dimensional jab. While a flat-footed guy, you know, you like Lemieux, who's looking for a big shot, but he's flat-footed, you can jab his head away. You know what I mean? So it's a different fight. You have to make different adjustments to different guys. I just don't think Canelo has the athleticism to avoid the danger.
Dude, and this is why I fucking wanted to do a podcast, man. Because you're like blowing my mind right now. I was like, my whole like just thought process behind things. I'm just kind of like, what the fuck? He's right. Like I'm just thinking of things differently now, you know. Like, and because I see it, I see like
it's the style, boxing styles.
As you start mentioning the fights and break them down a little bit with that, I'm kind of like, oh shit, well he's kind of right there, you know. I'm like, it's so weird. That's why I wanted to do this, but. Listen, man, thanks again for jumping on, dude. Part of that Future Legend family, dude, and it's awesome to talk to you. Hopefully, we do it again, closer to the big fight or something, and we'll see where everything's at, dude. But have a good one. Appreciate it, Paulie.
Absolutely, bro. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Later. So there you have it, dude. I'm a boxing nerd too. So that was Paulie Malignaggi. He has a lot of credentials. Obviously, you could hear him. He knows everything he's talking about. And I thought I knew my shit, but he's been in there. And that motherfucker has some heart. And you know, he didn't have a lot of athletic gifts that some fighters do. You know, and he had some certain struggles that he had no control over. But he found a way to become a champion despite that shit. And I remember watching him. He was actually the first live fight I ever seen, because he was one of the first bouts on this huge thing at the MGM. And I remember seeing him. He's throwing his jab. I'm like, dude, that's fucking Paulie Malignaggi. Look at that. I know that jab. That's crazy. And you know, I became a member of the Future Legend family because that's a clothing line that he's part owner in and stuff, and along with my friend who's actually named Future Legend. So I really connected to him on what the ideology is behind the brand. And so although I found them because, you know, a fighter that I liked and I admired, you know, I discovered that clothing brand because of him. I actually started endorsing it and promoting it because I like what they were about. You know, the designs and things like that, you know, they come and go, and things, we're going to like certain things. I might like this style, he might like that style, but the idea behind it, the meaning of it, is why I got into it. And I think you guys should go check out the documentary behind why the guy who started the brand started it, and why, you know, me and Paulie are heavily invested in it. And you know, I saw those attributes in Paulie too, you know, that the reason behind the brand, the unwillingness to give up, and the, you know, just having heart, man, and wanting to achieve something, dude. So, you know, that's been Hey Rob, dude, talking boxing. With all that said, dude, I think Conor McGregor's gonna throw a fucking kick, dude. Watch.